Is it going to work? Are we live? Yes. This says we're live. Can you guys hear me, see me, anything? Danny Boyd, Mark Salvage, Benjamin C. What's happening? We had a weird reboot situation there. Hang on, let me get this door open. Yes, here we are. Okay. Driveway Misfits does nothing special. Mark Savade, Bill McKayska, Nathan McCree, Mexican Spec. What's happening? All right, so you guys can finally see me. I had to reboot the whole computer. I don't know what's going on with this thing. All right, so here we are. Is it because now I'm watching myself and there's like stop motion. Overnight Guitarist, Arizona, best state in the country. We could take you. We're Tennessee. We could take anybody. Mike Brunello, I have the most technical difficulties. Yes, I know. Joe Camachi, Scranton in the house. Scranton, PA. Nice. Yeah, Kelsey Cunningham, your Wi-Fi sucks. I don't know what's going on with this thing. I'm trying. Like if it stalls again, we're just going to pull a plug. We'll try it again next week. But it may come around. That's it for buying a Lucas laptop. D-Truth, Brooklyn. I don't ever want to go back there. Mark saying yeah, stop motion kind of happening here as well. Very choppy. Oh God, guys, I'm so sorry. Sometimes it clears up. It's not trying to update, is it? You know what, Mark? I think that might be the case. Let's see. Personal up to date. Hang on a second. Let me see something here. Oh, I don't want to see that. It might be trying to update. Spray WD-40 on it. Calvin Manley, big motorcycle guy here too. Welcome, brother. You can tell Windows to pause out. Mexicans, it's working now. Okay, how you doing, Scoop? Where is Uncle Cat? She's doing very important things with very impressive people as we speak, and I can't even go into that. Mopar Joe, you forgot Mopar Joe. He's a good guy. I haven't been keeping up with his videos lately, but he's a really good guy. I like what he does. Let's see. Danny Boy is saying he thinks the last Windows 11 updates he screwed up his computer. Yeah, that might be it. Danny Boy says she's doing important work for the government. No, it's beyond the government. Yeah, way beyond the government. Yeah, no bark and bite, Scoop. Nope. Let's see. Zero is in the house. What's happening, Zero? All right, did it clean up a little bit? Is it okay now? Yeah, no shut up sticks tonight. Yeah, I had to come up here. And do this. It gets a little crazy. It gets nutty with the dogs. I love them so much, but they're out of control. And Kathy's been working on Fubar. Fubar's in the house. I just saw him pop in. She's been working on trying to get them under control, but it's way easier said than done. Let's see. Okay, so now my chat is frozen. I can't win. Yeah, I bet you this thing is trying to update. Okay. The truth. So what are your thoughts on building a street strip Sportster? I mean, isn't every Sportster a street strip sports? Well, not everyone, but there's really nothing to build there. Um, the one that I'm putting together here, if anything, that would be considered like a street strip Sportster. It's a hot rod. Period. The end. It's not of any. Uh, it's not of any particular style. It's not like a bobber or a chopper or anything like that. It's just pure hot rod. Just strip everything. A true chopper. Because people are like, oh, build a chopper, right? And because the really long rake and the hardtail and all that, and that's actually not what a chopper is. That's I mean, it's a chopper is you chop all the stuff off of it, and then somewhere along the line, the long front end and all the other stuff got mixed into it. Is it a true chopper? Because I'm taking off anything and everything that isn't necessary to go. So, but oh look, Kathy Bananas is in there. She says, "No, I make fish treats and have a clicker." I know. That's only you. Zero is talking about Bottle Rocket 318. Will you eighth mile the Sportster? I mean, I don't see why not. We have a hard enough time getting to the track, period. You know what I mean? We have a hard enough time getting to the track, period. Because of situations. Now we've lost our dog sitter. I have to cultivate a new dog sitter. And then, we've had the issues with health things happening around the house. So it's like, it's hard. It's hard to get out to the track. Next year it won't be so bad. Let's see. Geez, describe the fish treats. Kathy would have to do that. Kathy's saying she can't scroll, read questions, click, and treat at the same time. Who can? Let's see. Canucks dude. I find a lot of GM and Ford guys still really like and respect the Mopars. What's your take? Well, it's true. You know what I mean? Like GM and Ford guys, I don't know. Everyone has their loyalties. You know what I mean? I respect GMs and Fords, but I have a Mopar superiority complex that basically comes from the quickest and fastest cars on earth have always been Chrysler. Well, not always, but in our lifetimes have always been Chrysler powered. We had the coolest names, the coolest colors, the coolest interiors, you name it. We had the coolest stuff during the muscle car era. So I think it's pretty well recognized. Brandon Gill. Tony, I have a 1988 Ford Bronco 2 that is losing electrical power upon acceleration. The mechanic is losing patience. What could it be? The ECM has been replaced as well as the distributor. Losing electrical power during acceleration? That's a weird connection of some sort. I don't know, I couldn't even begin to try to diagnose that, like here now under these circumstances. I don't know. I do not know. Anthony Perna, Tony, do you have a video that explains tuning a Holly from scratch? Like when do you add idle restrictors? When do you change the power valves, etc.? Yes, several videos that covered every aspect of that, including one that I did with Andy from Unity Motorsports Garage that I think it covers a lot of really intricate ground. He's good. He's an ace. Charlie just got back from Valley Mopar races, show and swap meet. They just had a right up the road, the Holly Mo Party. That's a big one. D-Truth, what's your thoughts on Dead Dodge Garage's Barracuda? I have not seen the latest. I saw the thumbnail for it, but I haven't watched it. anything Jamie does is good by me. But I haven't seen the latest on it, and I think I haven't talked to him in a couple of weeks. I think he's going to the No Name Nationals with that next week. He likes those long road trips. Let's see. Chris Greenaway, most basic interiors. Hey, let's paint the tops of the doors, so we need half a door panel. Oh yeah, well that's part of it too. So if you're like you're like, yes, give me just metal. just give me like bare metal. I don't need poofy stuff, right? So yeah, that like the Mopar, the Mopar cheapness lends itself directly to performance. Let's see. Olive is in the house. What's happening, Olive? Benjamin C. 68 Roadrunner video, please. A burnout, cold start, walk around, anything. We've done that. I've fired that thing up a couple of times over the course of our time of doing this channel. So it's September, the middle of September. It's now 9 years since we started this channel, because we registered the name 9 years ago. And it was 8 years ago this month that we started putting content on. So now UTG is now in its 8th year. 8th year. This is crazy. I never thought I would do anything for 8 years straight, but here we are, and 8 years. Yay. Charlie, you met Rick Ehrenberg. He had a nice start with him. Rick has a lot of great stuff. Rick hates my guts. What are you going to do? But he's a brilliant guy, man. He's got a lot of good knowledge. Watsana, thank you for the congratulations. Yeah, 8 years. We're starting our 8th year now of doing doing this. Joe Camucci, Dead Dodge is a very good guy, great content. Jamie does one of the best YouTube channels. I'm going to say definitely. I can't think of anything else. Jamie does one of the best automotive YouTube channels there is, period, whether it's Mopars or not. I feel that he handicaps himself with the name, because he is Mopar, right? Dodge, I get that, but he can do so much more than that. But he's absolutely one of the best automotive channels on YouTube. So Scott, Cold War Motors, different flavors, right? But both guys just do fantastic content. And they're real. You know what I mean? See, they're real guys doing real things, as opposed to like some of the let's say the better known people on YouTube that just throw big buckets of cash at stuff. These are real people. Mexican spec, 440,000 subs. You can't make it up. It's a vanity number. It really doesn't mean anything. Ultimately, it's how many views you're going to collect over the course of a day, week, a month, a year. But I mean, it doesn't hurt to have that many subs. But it's not like there are actually 440,000 people that actually watch. Otherwise, forget about it. I'd be flying back and forth in my helicopter. RC Hydros. A friend of mine had what seemed like ignition problems. I showed him what you had on an old video, worn out distributor bushings. Very common thing. Tomorrow's video, I'm going to do a bench test on the ignition system, because I've got the ignition that came with that, the pole barn fine 3D3. It's an old Mallory Unilite. And so tomorrow's video is actually going to be a bench test of that ignition system. And so yeah, I got to get back into doing stuff like that, because people find those videos really, really helpful. Yeah, Mexican spec, yes, but it is a good engine, right? It's a good sub number, and it's a good engine. It's a great engine. Yes, Jamie is a natural. Oscar Gonzalez, thank you for the super chat. Bought new Rain-X wipers, and there's a spot that doesn't get wiped, low spot on the windshield. I've seen that. I've seen that. It's right in front, and you can't see as well. Any suggestions? Yes, I have seen that. I've come across that, where the windshield's got like a wave in it, and the wiper, no matter what you do, the wiper will. Yeah, I don't know what you would do about that. Maybe a glass guy can. I don't know. I don't know. But I have seen that, man. Yeah, a wavy windshield, and the windshield wiper just misses his whole spot. Definitely. Let's see. Anyone seen the 3D3 CUDA convertible? No. Okay. Ron Armstrong is saying you need a neighbor kid with a rock. Yeah, let the insurance company fix your windshield. Let's see. Dale McCarty, I just had an 8 1/4 diff with 321 gears put in my 88 Fifth Avenue. Should I also install a deeper transmission pan for cooling, or is that all hype? Yeah, unless you got unless you got like a really loose converter, and you're gonna be driving the thing on the street a lot, like say like the stop and go type of traffic. Yeah, the stock cooler will do just fine, and you don't need a deep pan. Let's see. Moose Knuckle. Can I run a crankshaft after the engine has had a rod knock? The crankshaft doesn't have any significant scoring. It's a K24A Honda engine. Okay, you might be able to. The only way to really know is to get in there with a mic and check the journal like in 3 spots, all the way around. If you can get a mic in there and you can confirm that the journal hasn't gone egg-shaped, you're probably fine. You're probably fine. If you caught the rod knock just as it got started. Back in the day, a common thing, I bought several cars this way. Remember the old K cars, the Chrysler K cars? They had that sideways mounted 2.2 and then the 2.5 motor. And the oil pan on those was vulnerable, especially like in New York with the potholes and all of that. So I used to get those things with seized up engines. They would run through a pothole. It would put a hole in the oil pan. All the oil would drain out. They would drive it for like a block, and then the thing would seize. And with those, it never hurt the crank. The crank was nitrided or whatever treatment they used on it to make the surface of the crank tough. But what would happen was it would get hot, and the bearing would grab, it would break the tabs, and the bearing would spin, and would try to overlap and would lock the motor up. And those, I'm telling you, I probably did 4 or 5 of them way back then because it's such a common problem, such a common car, such a common problem. Then you take the oil pan down, you find the rod that spun, take the cap off, stick another rod in there, put it back together again. Perfect. Because the damage would happen so quickly that it didn't have time to hurt the crankshaft. So, but you don't know. At least I don't know. So I would, your situation. So I would recommend you mic it in 3 places, and if you get 3 spots and they're all exactly the same, send it. Let's see. Old McDonald has a car. Are the 273 adjustable rockers worth putting on a 340? They could be. Are they stronger than the stamped steel rockers? And are they heavier or lighter? They're definitely stronger than the stamped steel rockers. I've had in fact, last year or the year before, we had a push rod get launched through a rocker on one of our engines. Yeah, the 273 rockers are good. I would use them. I don't know if they're lighter or heavier, but unless you spin in this motor like 6,500 plus, it really doesn't really make any difference. But they're the same ratio. They're 1.5, and they're a good investment. Yeah, I would definitely recommend that as an upgrade. And the nice thing about that, if you got a hydraulic cam, you can set the thing for 0 lash, eliminate the preload, and you just pick up a little extra cam profile with it. Let's see. D-Truth, is there a way to remove oil pan dent without removing it? I have no idea, man. They're all different. Everything is different. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Chris Greenaway, I wish I could afford to ship my project car. Well, you wouldn't be shipping it here. I don't work on anything like that. 72Z28, if you snap a rod just right and make it hit the dent without too much force, that's a good idea. 72Z28's got the right idea. If you have a dent and it's in line with one of the connecting rods, buzz the motor till that rod breaks. And it'll probably, as the broken end of the rod swings around, it'll probably whack the dent out of the pan. That is truly advanced thought, 72Z28. I salute you, and so does NASA. Let's see. Thanks, Tony. No, humanity thanks you. Raymond Cabal, guys, please hit the like button. That would be nice. The like button is always good. It does help. It helps the algorithms. Let's see. Chris Greenaway, cause more internal damage though. Dude, it has nothing to do with. The question was, how do you get the dent out of the pan? Had nothing to do with other factors, right? Is his ashtray full? I don't know, right? It doesn't make any difference. He wants to get the dent out of the pan, and that's a good way. Harry Lister, it ain't Sunday without the dog chaos. Kathy Bananas is working on the dog chaos as we speak right now. Iceman, Uncle Tony, did you see Rich Rebuilds created a second? The second what? I like Rich Rebuilds. I love his videos, man. He's awesome. But I don't know what he created a second of. Let's see. Jump for Joy Agility. It's Elizabeth Evans from Jump for Joy Agility, the ultimate dog trainer, especially if you're here in Middle Tennessee. And she has a YouTube channel called Jump for Joy Agility. Did I hear that Buffalo Valley is closing? Yes. One of our local tracks, Buffalo Valley, is the hill climb. Because Buffalo Valley is a great track. I love that track. I've been there a bunch of times. We run a lot of stuff there. But it's a hill climb. It's 0.2 of a second slower than any level track in the area. But they're closing after, I guess it's 60 years. Yeah, they opened in 1965, and they're closing this year. That's it. They're done. Not because they don't have good business. They have really good business. And there's not like there's noise complaints and all the other stuff that usually puts a track under. There's no developers going in. It's just the family that runs the track is just done. They're just absolutely done. They don't want to go any further. And it's on family farmland, the track. And so it's not the kind of thing that they could just, sell the track to somebody or have somebody else come in and run it. They paid their dues. Gary, the guy who owns the place, really good guy. He's just done. And I can respect that. We have lots of other tracks in the area. Chappy Chap, do you still have your Goldwing? And if so, do you still like it? I've been wanting to get an older one. Dude, I bought that bike. I shot the video on it. I kept it for like a week after that, right? And I couldn't, like, it's not for me. It's not my cup of tea. Like my taste in motorcycles is like the absolute polar opposite of, you know what I'm saying? Complete polar opposite. The Goldwing was impressive in what it did. Like when it's in its element, which is like out on the highway, chopping miles, right? Impressive, incredibly impressive. But that's not the kind of riding that I do. If I have to go any type of distance, I'm taking a car. I'm taking something on four wheels. I'm not a long distance motorcycle rider. It has no appeal to me at all. So I kept it for about a week after that video, and I was just like, no, I just can't get into this, and I sold it. The Super Cub is gone also. What happened was over the last couple of months, but really like lately, I've been getting rid of things that don't fit a certain profile. So I've got 4 bikes in the stable right now, and this is how I am with everything. Okay, all 4 of my bikes take the same starter. They take the same clutch. They have the same transmissions. They have the same ignition system. They have the same. All of their important components are completely interchangeable. So I got rid of the Ulysses. I sold the Ulysses to my neighbor, so it's still around. I can still ride it whenever I want. But I got rid of the Ulysses for that reason, because it doesn't fit the mechanical profile of my other bikes. So everything that I'm going to do from this point forward, is going to fit that basic profile, where all of the important parts to keep them running are completely interchangeable. And a lot of people don't get that; they don't understand that. But to me, that's like the most important thing, right? Do I have the parts to keep this thing running, and all of them running? You know what I mean? Okay, this one's not starting, but I want to use that one quick. I'll grab this, put it off this, put it on that, and not skip a beat. That's how I am. So I've gotten rid of everything that doesn't fit that profile. Let's see. Iceman, Rich Rebuild started a second channel named Uncle Rich's Adventures. Okay, everyone's an uncle now. I stole the uncle thing. I stole it from Uncle Rob. I robbed from Uncle Rob, who I don't think he's done videos now in a long time. He might. But I was a big fan of his channel. Him and Tourette's guy, and he's the pioneers of YouTube, right? But Uncle Rob, what happened was, when I first started making videos, I couldn't put 2 sentences together. Okay, so he had a method, like all of his videos were like, he would speak 1 sentence at a time, and then at the end of the sentence he would go, and then, so it would be like, first pick up the lighter, then pick up the coffee, then, right? So that was his style of doing things, and I was like, I can do that. I can't speak full paragraphs, but I can speak a sentence at a time. And so I stole Uncle Rob's idea, as I stole his name too. So Uncle Tony. Let's see. Uncle Roger videos? No, it's Uncle Rob. Thank you. I'm still your favorite uncle. Yeah, there's the Uncle Buck's Garage. There's a bunch of them. Yeah. Yeah, there's a few people out there actually trying to be me. I see you. I see what you're doing. I see it, but that's okay. Is Danny Solis in the house? Yes, Zero's putting up what's happening, brother man. So Zero just put up a channel, a link to Dan's channel there. Excellent stuff. My first videos were hilarious. Not to me, man. It was cringe. Holy jeez. Iceman, I remember the first video of yours I saw, a early one, talking about Mopar suspension. I wondered to myself, who is this spaz? But you've grown to be a pro. What is a spaz? No question about it. No question about it. It's good coffee. Shout out to the demonic entities that run 7-Eleven. Very good. No PhD Coyote, the cold start video remains one of your favorites. That was good. It was a good one. It was a good one. Storage unit days were awesome. You know, we still have units over there, and we're supposed to be running the Midnight Speed Labs with Dr. Art. So we still have a place there. We just haven't used it this summer. There were a lot of things going on, so it just didn't come around. But we will be returning there shortly to do a bunch of content. John the Dude, will 6-inch rods slow down the turn on a 327 main in a 400 block? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Then where would the power go? I think the destroyer and the rods would cancel each other out. Your thoughts? I'm not really sure what you mean by slow down the turn on the mains. A 6-inch rod is going to increase your rod. I'm reading the question again. Where would the power go? No, all it's going to do is it's going to slow the piston down. It won't slow the piston's maximum speed, which is going to be 90 past, but it'll slow the acceleration and deceleration rate down. Also, I remember hearing about Tony when he sold parts. The place where I am the most hated person on for A-Buddies only. That was the site I sold most of my parts off of. For a while, like for a couple of years, every week there would be a new thread on how dumb I was, what kind of hack I was. Please, those guys hated me over there. They probably still do. Yes, White Punk on Nitro. I use that name on everything for a long time. 72Z28, were you selling your parts too cheap? I undercut everybody. I played cutthroat auto parts. So I was doing Mopar parts, okay? And it was my full-time gig. This is all I did. We made really good money with it. So I dealt a couple of different ways, but like if I would list parts specifically I would undercut everybody. I just didn't give a shit. You know what I mean? So I never played fair. You know, if I saw somebody else list a part, a similar part, I'd lower the price on mine. I'll tell you how I sold a lot of stuff. See, I'm not one of those people that I'm not a blood and guts like got to get this number for this part. I know what this thing is worth. I'm not one of those people. I'm like, okay, I got to move this. I know what I'm into it for, and I'm not going to try to milk the last penny out of it. You know what I mean? So I'm into this thing. It's I bought a parts car for $1,000. I already got $8,000 out of it, and I still have another $5,000 worth of stuff laying around. So I don't care if this thing is worth $200. I'll take 50. Get it out of my life. So because of that, I moved a big volume of parts. And when the person buys that, let's say, underpriced part off of you, they're like, well, hey, while I'm at it, do you have the bracket to mount the heater box to my 65 Dart? Do you have this? And so you end up selling a bunch of parts while you're at it. And then I did this other thing where I would tell people, send me whatever you think is fair. So on smaller parts, right? Like let's just say you need a throttle linkage, a throttle bracket, right? Antique manifold, throttle bracket. Most people would listen at $25. I know what I got, right? And I would just tell people, send me whatever you think is fair. and they would almost always send me more than I would have asked for the part. So they despised me on that site, and they had to change the rules a couple of times because of the way I would post. Because I would post every day. I would put like 5 more items up, and then I would rework the older ads. So for a while, I was like dominating, like my ads were everywhere. So they had to change the rules a couple of times just to slow me down. But they couldn't slow me down, and I was the biggest seller on that on that site. But I played cutthroat auto parts. Tell you another thing. Another advantage I had too. I was used to ship from the same place. I used to use USPS, but I didn't use an actual post office location. I used a satellite location, and so at the satellite location, they got to know me, right? So I would tip them sometimes to get stuff through that wouldn't normally go. So I was able to, like, I used, for example, okay, I would send 8 3. I would sell 8 3/4 rear ends, and I would send them through the USPS, right? The whole 8 3/4. Okay, so what I would do is I would take the rear end apart, okay, wrap the housing in cardboard, and depending on how you measure it, it's under there, So my guys my people there would measure it so that it would get through. Wrap that in cardboard, and then you wrap the axles in cardboard. They go through. That's no problem. And then the chunk, I would put the chunk in a large USPS flat rate box. All right, take the ring and pinion out of it, put it in a large USPS flat rate box. It would fold up like a pyramid, okay? And I would be able to send the chunk through the mail anywhere. Whereas the U.S. Post Office for like $18 was the price at the time. And then I would send the ring and pinion in a medium flat rate box. So I would get people in, let's say California would buy an 8 3/4 rear from me in Tennessee, and their shipping on the rear would be like way under $100. Um, 72Z20. I used to abuse the hell out of those flat rate boxes, dude. I used to send intake manifolds in them all the time. I sent Hemi heads in them. The maximum weight on those is 70 pounds. Okay, and a 426 Hemi head is 66 pounds. So I used to literally take an entire 426 Hemi head, stuff it in one of them flat rate boxes. What you have to do is you have to open the box up at the seam. Okay, put the cylinder head or the intake manifold. I sent a lot of cast iron intake manifolds in those boxes too. You open it up at the seam, you put the manifold in the box, then you fold the box back over like you form fit the box to the intake manifold, and then laminate it with tape. And you send like a cast iron intake manifold or a 426 Hemi. Like I could send a 426 Hemi head from Tennessee to Hawaii for $18. I abused the piss out of those things. Oh, zero. Yes, boss. I remember you saying take a heat gun to the shipping packages. They have the bubble wrap ones. They're what they were like $8 at the time. The bubble wrap envelopes, and I used to stick all kinds of things in those. You take a heat gun and you just blow it into the envelope for a while, until the plastic and everything gets soft, and you put your hands in there and you just work it out until it was like almost like a third bigger than you originally started, and then just stuff, and that had I forget what the weight limit was on those, but yeah, we just sent. I abused the USPS like it was a game to me. It was a game to me. What can I get away with? I genuinely enjoyed it. The only thing that I never sent I remember this. The only thing I never sent USPS was I never sent a hood, because it was in a single hood that you could wrap, that I dealt with, right? The Mopar stuff. There was no hood that you could wrap down to that size and send it. or wrap down to get under their size. And I never sent an engine block because there was no way to get an engine block intact. But everything else, I sent roofs. You have to section it, and okay, so whoever's working on it, if they don't want to put it back together again, they don't buy it. But a lot of people don't care; they just need a section. So I would send roofs. I sent trunk lids. I sent doors. The doors were great. You take the glass out. You get, and then you just wrap it in cardboard. You form wrap it in cardboard. Send it. Jamie is in the house. Tony, you're in the wrong place for a Sunday. I'm on the road trying to find service to be streamed. Going to be late. All right. So Jamie is going to. Where are you on the road to, man? Where are you on the road to? So Jamie is just popping in here to say that his live that normally starts now is going to be late because he's looking for a place to stream. Boss, Zero saying, boss, I just imagine the guy looking at those with what the fuck. Everything I do, I try to make a game out of. It's that Smokey Eunuch mindset. You know what I mean? Like, challenge me, make it hard for me, and I'll figure out a way around it. To me, that's like as good if not, it's as rewarding, if not more rewarding than making the money. Botox, please tell me he ends up at a Waffle House. I don't think they have Waffle Houses out where he is. Olive is saying someone said Jamie is on his way to the No Name Nationals. Oh, that's next. Yes. Okay. Yeah, he might be. Jamie, is that where you're going? The No Names? That's next weekend. And do they still do it at Sikeston, Missouri? Enco 924. I bought a Mallory YC365 dual point distributor for raised block and Hemi. The two-piece cap is no longer made. Any idea if a Merc Cruiser Mallory cap will work? Geez, I don't know. That's a forum question. Offhand, I don't know. Oscar Gonzalez, did USPS letter carrier handle those packages with care? I can't really think of any returns, any like significant damage or returns or anything like that. I know they had to curse me. But no, I never really had problems. Iceman, did they ever reject any packages? Not until the very end. At the very end. So I shipped my stuff through a satellite store. And like I said, they would overlook a couple of pounds, they'd overlook a couple of inches, and I got all kinds of stuff through. And I guess the main USPS office that they send to, they probably got enough complaints that they started scrutinizing all of my packages, and I got a couple of them kicked back. But that was like literally at the very, very end. We were on our way out of the business anyway. Let's see. AutoX, hey, we got another package from Tony. Son of a, get the duct tape. I used to go to Dollar Tree and buy all of their, and once a week they would get their truck in at the local Dollar Tree, and I would just go there and buy all of their clear wrapping tape, all of it, however much they put out. Because I would laminate these packages. It was the only way you can actually get these things to stay together and stay the form to be under the technical size. So yeah, we laminated like everything with that tape. Old McDonald, if they could throw a set of Hemi heads like they do luggage, it would be just to see. Well, the Hemi heads, that's how we got started with this. I shipped 426 Hemi heads in those flat rate boxes and never had a problem. You got to, like I said, you got to laminate the hell out of it. You got to stuff a bunch of stuff in there around the head to keep it from, flopping around. And then you just laminate the box, just layer after layer after layer of tape, and it's bulletproof, man. You can drop it from a plane and it won't open up. Todd Bob, Mopar quality was other junk. Yes, that's why all of us people with low self-esteem gravitated towards them, so we could punish ourselves with the junk. Duh. Rocco, never underestimate a determined Italian. You got that right. Levi has a wiring question. I don't know who Levi is. I haven't seen it. Oh, wait, you know why? I got this set on top chat. I have to put it on all chat. Oh, live chat. Okay. Yeah. So it depends on the setting. Sometimes if you don't have it on the right setting, you don't get all of the messages. So now I've got it set so I get all the messages, but they're going to go that much faster. So, let's see. And now it's frozen. And now it's frozen. Okay. I have to go back to. Why? Technical issues here. I have to go back to top chat. It's okay now. All right, the chat's going again. So, guys, if you throw something in there and I miss it, it's because right now it's on the top chat setting. I don't really know how they differentiate instead of all chat. So this thing is filtering out certain messages. There's nothing that I'm doing. It's like YouTube, however they do it. So only probably 2/3 of the messages sent actually come through. So no, I'm not ignoring anybody. Ignition wiring orange with brown stripe. Oh, you mean for the electronic box? I don't remember which wire that is. Oh, Kathy Bananas is saying they've all been sleeping for the last half an hour and how to peep. All the pups are sleeping. But because we're not there doing this and yapping and stuff like that, there's no activity. So they're like, nah. But if we were doing this, they would be going nuts. It's old school points and condenser. Levi, give me your question again. Levi, I'm sorry. I didn't see it. Let me try to go back to guys. Just give me a second here. Okay. Okay, it's moving now. Okay. All right. So now I should be getting all of them. Levi, send that question again, please. And Kathy Bananas is saying hi, everybody. Let's see. His driveway message is enjoying the silence. Yeah, Jamie's driving. He's in transit, and we believe he's on his way to the No Name Nationals. See, Markhead, thoughts on piston skirt coatings? Got one cylinder I don't think will clean up with a couple of swipes of a hone. Machine work done about 20 years ago, 390 FE. Well, when you say you don't think it'll clean up with a hone, you mean it has some like light pitting? Okay, if you've got a cylinder that has light pitting, when I say light pitting, I mean like really light pitting, and it's down in the skirt area, don't worry about it. Those pits are going to fill with oil as the engine is running. That piston is going to swipe the skirts. They're going to swipe past those little pits with the oil so quickly that the oil will never have a chance to come out. It'll for all intents and purposes, it's going to act like a solid cylinder wall. Right now, that's for stuff that's below, let's say, let's say the second ring at the bottom of the stroke. If it's beyond the second ring at the bottom of the stroke, right? I wouldn't worry about it. It'll be fine. Okay, what is okay? Levi is asking, what is the brown wire with orange tracer, orange stripe, orange tracer on a '73 Lincoln using a Ford style solenoid on the fender? Well, that has nothing to do with the ignition. Well, actually, it does have to do with the ignition. Okay. All right. All of your factory ignition systems, so Ford, Chrysler, General Motors, AMC, all of them, okay, used a separate starting circuit to bypass the resistor with their point ignition systems. So when you go to start the engine, so the key is in the crank position, right? So it's in the start position, not the run position. There's always going to be a circuit to bypass the resistor. So now on the Chrysler, it's just bypassing the resistor. It's getting power through the distributor side of the ballast resistor. On General Motors cars, it was off the starter solenoid. So you had two posts, one marked R and one marked S, and one of those posts, the R post, went to bypass the ignition. On the Fords, so the Ford solenoid, you got the battery post, the starter post, and then really you have the two posts. One of them is the ground for the neutral safety switch, and then the other one is the start circuit for the ignition. So that would be to bypass the resistor wire that the ignition normally runs off of. And I couldn't tell you what the color code on it is. It might be brown wire with orange tracer. I don't remember what the color code is. But I'm just telling you how all the different manufacturers worked around that system where they don't want the ignition system going to the resistor when you're cranking it. So did that make sense? I hope that made sense. If not, throw it back up there and I'll try to elaborate further. Let's see. Elaine Solis is in here. What's happening, Elaine? Hensborough, turbo versus supercharger on a 4-banger, 2-liter, benefits trade-offs. Smaller, and the smaller the engine, the better you're off with a turbocharger, because there's so many parasitic losses through a supercharger. Supercharger takes power to run. So, and it just depends on the size of the blower and the speed of the blower and what you're passing through the blower, volume of fuel. So on a smaller engine, a turbocharger is always going to be better than a supercharger. Then you reach a point where and it's hard to pinpoint exactly where it is, but on one end of the scale, okay, one end of the scale, you've got a tiny engine, and it's better with a turbocharger. On the other end of the scale, you have a huge engine, and it's better with a supercharger, right? So just think of it that way, right? Small turbo, big super, okay, and then someplace in the middle where the vast majority of all applications lie. It's flip a coin. Which one's going to work best for you? Which one suits your needs better? Let's see. Quack Attack. Do higher gears multiply engine torque? Would a car on a dyno measured at the wheels with 300 foot-pounds and 3.0 gears have 400 with 4.0 gears? It's going to affect it, but I don't know what to what degree. You'd have to talk to somebody who actually operates a chassis dyno, or maybe Daniel Solas. There you go. There's an engine builder dyno guy. Maybe he's got some input on that. I believe that yes, it would affect the measured power output on a chassis dyno, but I couldn't tell you for sure because I don't do that kind of thing. I don't know to what degree it would make a difference. Dan, what do you think about that? World of Woodchip. I just found out my wheel lacing guy died this morning. Oh, well, I guess now I have to learn, and without the teacher. That's why we have YouTube. It'll never take the place of your friend, but it will give you the information you need. And I've never laced a wheel myself, so I couldn't tell you. I've tightened spokes. That's as far as I've ever gone. Mark Head. What's it like riding a scooter in your area? It's gotten so bad here close to St. Louis that stuff's just sitting nowadays. On my way here tonight, okay, I stopped at the 7-Eleven, grabbed a cup of coffee, and then was making my way back onto I-24 to come to the shop. And as I'm making the turn, okay, somebody in a Nissan SUV, whatever it was, came ripping around the outside on the shoulder, past me like where he just cut me off, and then started zigzagging through traffic at full throttle. Whatever beans this thing had were being thrown out on the road, and he was flying. And I said to myself, and this is why I don't go anywhere near an interstate on a motorcycle anymore. Now, around town, it's not so bad. Not because the drivers aren't insane and stupid and distracted and just shouldn't be on the road at all, but because traffic moves at a slow enough pace that you can anticipate what's going to happen. On interstate, when literally a quarter of the cars, the speed limit is 70 miles an hour, there's 25% of the cars that are doing 90 and 5% of the cars that are doing 105. Just no. My balls ain't that big. Okay. I watch people ride on the interstate all the time, and I'm like, you're gonna die. You don't realize it yet, but you're gonna freaking die. So I stay away from obvious. Because listen, I've crashed at high speed, right? I've crashed at low speed, and crashing at low speed really isn't that big of a deal. Okay, crashing at high speed, that puts you in a wheelchair, right? Been there, done it, got the T-shirt. So yes, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. On the flip side, I'm fortunate enough to live in an area. So like, I'm in a city, right? Murfreesboro, which is really part of Nashville. Okay, we're like the southernmost suburbs of Nashville. But I'm surrounded by the just most beautiful countryside. Okay, with tons of just winding, beautiful country roads. And I never give a second thought out there, And around town, traffic generally moves at about 40 miles an hour. And you know what? I've crashed at 40. I'll crash again at 40, and it don't really bother me that much. But on the interstate, no, I stay away. There isn't enough money. There isn't enough money for me to ride a fucking motorcycle on the interstate ever again. World of Woodchip. I enjoy a blast up the highway late at night once in a while. I used to too. Like back when I was in New York, and I was into the sport bike thing for a while, right? And yeah, occasionally we would go for the top end run, and it was cool. Um, I guess I probably just got it out of my system. I got it out of my system. I had it's just gross. If Kathy's watching, she'll remember this, right? So in my garage at the house, I used to run the shop out of the house, right? So in the garage at my house, uh, Ralph he had a Gixxer, and he got a ticket for 162 miles an hour in a 50. Okay, so he got that ticket, and I said, I got, he had it right. He showed me the ticket, and I says, I'm keeping this. This is great, right? And I stuck it up on my wall with a pin. Okay, and then like within a week or two later, I had a crash, and I lost a ton of skin, like just tons of. You got to cover the baby with the skin that I lost, right? So as I was healing, I was getting these scabs that were like the size of my hand. Okay, they would like just come off. So I took one of those and I pinned it with his 162-mile-an-hour ticket on my wall. I had different sensibilities when I was younger. You know what I mean? I saw things a little bit differently. Harry Lister hitting a deer on a motorcycle? No thanks. Yes, during their mating season, yeah, you've got to watch because they're crazy. They come running out of anywhere. But again, like those are 40-mile-an-hour back roads, and I don't really worry about it. You know what I mean? It's like I know the deers are out there, but it's a relatively slow speed. I always cover the brake. Um, I'm always ready for something to jump out, and I scan the landscape. I know where there's a potential for an unseen deer to come, running out. Uh, it's just one of those things. Now, people who want to just like rip through the country roads and touch knees and stuff like that, well, that's a suicide mission. You know what I'm saying? That's a suicide mission. Auto X comes running out of anywhere during mating season, also. Yes. Um, let's see. World of Woodchip. In my 20s, I got a ticket for 83 and a 35 and a rack body. Hung it on the wall of my friend's shop, yeah, where I used to work on. Oh, you know why? So I'm remembering this now. At the time, I had a series of motorcycle crashes, and everybody we knew was crashing bikes. So everybody I knew had bike wreckage. So Ralph and I had this idea that we were going to open a club, like a place to hang out, right? And we were going to call it Skids, okay? Skidz. This is in 1999, right? 1999 to 2000. So we were going to call it Skids, and we were going to decorate it with motorcycle wreckage parts, casts and like all just things related to crashing motorcycles, and that was going to be the core of the place. A friend of mine had wadded up. Oh God, what was it? I think it was a Ninja. I don't remember, but he wadded this thing up into a ball, and we were going to use that as like a centerpiece for decorating this place. And that's why I hung his ticket on the wall, because that was going to be part of the decoration. And then I hung my scab on the wall because that was going to be part of the decoration too. So, but that never materialized. Uh, Spike Motorsports. You should do a video about subframe connectors. I've done videos on subframe connectors, and generally speaking, I'm not a fan. But that's just me. Um, AutoX, didn't you have a music venue? I certainly did. We had a music venue / booking agency called TFG Productions, no relation to UTG. KJ Kylie, Tony, any good Feast of San Gennaro for stories? No, but we used to hit it every year. It was nice. That was nice. Zeppelis, man, Zeppelis. Um, my aunt, Aunt Angie, she was old, so it was like it's going back 30 years ago, 30 years ago, and she was like in her 70s, okay, and she used to sing for food. We she'd go to the festival and sing for food. You know, that was the kind of thing that happened. Um, Scoop. Some shop told my 84-year-old neighbor her frame was broken on a 2003 PT Cruiser. Are they not a unibody? Yes, but unibodies also have frames. So all the unibody means is that you've got, instead of having separate frame rails that run front to back and then a separate body that bolts on top of it, it means that the frame rails are incorporated into the larger structure. So the PT Cruiser is going to have a pair of front frame rails and it's going to have a pair of back frame rails, and they're going to be tied to each other through the unibody structure. So yes, absolutely, you can have a unibody car with a busted frame rail. Um, Danny Boyd says, I haven't ridden a motorcycle since 1988 or 1989. I stopped for a while. The third time I got hit by somebody making a left turn, I quit. I stopped, and I didn't ride for. Um, I'm gonna say like almost close to 10 years, and then Aunt Jenny, that's right. Aunt Jenny used to sing for the food. That's right. I forgot about that. Thank you, Kat. Um, so I got hit 3 times. People making a left turn directly in front of me. One time I ended up with I bent a friggin' Oldsmobile with my right leg, right? And shattered the tibia and did all of that, right? That was bad. And then as soon as I moved to Tennessee, I had somebody make a left turn in front of me. Actually, I wasn't even in the house yet. I was still living. I lived in the shop for a couple of months while they were building my house. So I didn't even move into my house yet. I was living in the shop, and I was riding up one of the main roads over here, and somebody in a van made a left turn directly in front of me, and I slid the bike under the friggin' van. So that was like twice, and then the third time I was heading back from I forget I was thinking I was going to check out a band that was playing that we were thinking about booking, and I was on my way back, and a guy made a left turn, and he was aiming right for my hip, and I got the bike all the way leaned over, right? I leaned it over as far as you could possibly lean a bike in that short period of time at that speed, and he took off my turn signal, right? So I came that close to a hip shot, and at that point I says, okay, I'm done, right? You know, no more motorcycles. I'm done, and I got rid of the end of it. And then about 4 years ago, and I covered on this channel. I was like, I need a motorcycle. I just have to have a motorcycle. So I went out and bought that 2002 883R, which I still have. It's at the house. Um, and that was it. Boom, back in motorcycles. Uh, Danny boy, did you kick his mirror off? No, actually, I gave him a hug. Okay, it was a kid. Okay, and he was like maybe 18, 20 years old, like that. And when he had seen what happened, okay, he panicked. Okay, He got out of the car, and I was pissed. I got off the bike and I started walking to him, and I was mad, and he could see that I was mad, and I saw the panic in his eyes, and I just, give me a hug. So, totally disarmed the situation. It happens. Accidents happen. It left an impression on him, and I'm sure it made him a more careful driver from that point. But people make mistakes, and I'm the asshole who put myself on a motorcycle in that vulnerable position. That's how I always look at it. You know what I'm saying? Motorcycles, the visibility is terrible. You know what I mean? People cannot see you, right? You blend in with all sorts of things around you. When you're on I feel, okay, that when you're on a motorcycle, you're more or less assuming 75% of the responsibility for anything that's going to happen. And that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. Let's see. Let's see. World of wood chip. I saw a guy in a big twin get T-boned by an Econo line. He hit his bare head. Oh! And his boot landed in an adjacent parking lot. Yeah, I know, man. I know. Dean Stevenson, a clown suit and red nose. Yeah, that's a good idea. A clown suit and red nose sometimes helps him riding a motorcycle, but then you look at Ronald McDonald. Oh, wait, let me go back here. There's a question I wanted to answer. There it is. AC. Got a 56 Olds. Great car. Not pulling left or right. However, there's a little play in the steering wheel, as there should be. When I hit cracks on the road, it tugs left and right. Recommendations first up. Well, a little play in the steering wheel is normal. Okay. Those older cars, especially manual steering cars, are going to have like this much play in them. Okay. If you got this much play, the steering box itself is bad. Right? And that will do that. What will happen is the car so assuming that your ball joints are good, tie rods are good, centerlink's good, all of that stuff is good, okay? And the alignment is about right, okay? So I'm making a lot of assumptions. Assuming that all of the obvious bases are covered, then a steering box with a worn bushing will give you that. So the car is going to try to follow any type of unevenness in the road, and you're always going to be chasing it with the steering wheel. That's telltale steering box problems. I've also seen cars with the frame mount. I've seen loose steering boxes will do that where the bolts loosen up, and I've seen cracked frame rails where the steering box mount will give you that same thing too. So be checking that area there. I'm just scanning over here. Live with Mexican Spec. Yo, you guys are all talking to yourselves. You left me out of the loop. Nobody wants to talk to you. Copper Cutlass, you need to do a class on rolling cigarettes. Oh, bro, I've been rolling cigarettes since I was 10 years old. I started smoking tops, and then buglers. World of Woodchip, riding on the street makes racing not seem so dangerous. So you go through the bales, the ambulances in the infield idling, and there are no distracted drivers. But racing, you don't really have many things to hit. You know, when nice open area, if you're wearing the proper leather, you're wearing the proper gear, and you go for the slide, it's like, okay. You know what I mean? It looks a lot worse than it actually is. Of course, high sliding is never any fun, but you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about. The typical like whoops and you know, yeah, that's great. But you know, do that on the street. And now there's everything in the world that you can hit. Let's see. Scoop, never tried smoking anything in my life except for tires. What can I tell you? I have severe ADD, right? And the combination of caffeine and nicotine has the same effect on the brain as Ritalin does without the negative side effects. So my entire personality is a combination of caffeine, nicotine, and sugar, and they have to be in the proper balance through the course of the day, or I can't focus. I can't do anything. I just babble. Which I do anyway. That's besides the point. Let's see. Joe Camachi, and we only live so long, so what the hell does it matter as long as you enjoy yourself and don't hurt anyone? There's a lot to be said for that. Copper Cutlass, that's why I do better bracket racing on Red Bulls and cigarettes. Yes, the last race I haven't had a race in a long time. The last actual race that I was in was against Andy from Unity Motorsports, and on the way to the track, because I know myself and I know how I used to be, right? And I remembered my diet from when I was racing all the time, and the only thing I was going to have coffee and glazed donuts. That was it. So on the way to the track, halfway to the track, I stopped at a Dunkin' Donuts and I got a large coffee, lots of sugar, and half a dozen glazed donuts, and I jammed them down. So now by the time we got to the track, well, the sugar was going, the caffeine and the sugar, everything had kicked in, and I chopped down the tree on Andy like I could not have done that if it wasn't for the proper amount of chemicals that came from. Let's see. Drones. PG-13, the Bill Hounds show. Sportsters are the best motorcycles ever made. I totally agree with you. Totally and completely agree with you. If only for their ability to be turned into like Sportsters, just from their raw material standpoint. I love them as they are, right? I just as much prefer a completely stock Sportster as I do one that's been modified. So it's like I go both ways on that. But just the blank slate nature of the Sportster. A lot of people don't even realize, they built. If you go way back, in 1858, they had the C model, not the CH, not the XLCH, but the XLC. And it was a little dirt bike. It was a little dirt bike. Came with no lighting, no nothing, right? Knobbies. Okay, it's like it was a factory dirt bike. Then you had the TTs, the XL TT, which was a factory issue race bike. Period. It came with nothing on it, no lights, no street equipment, no nothing. Just engine and wheels. They had that for several years. right? Like the range of Sportster, all of the different, the nature of that bike and all of the different incarnations that it had over the years makes it just completely one of a kind. There's no other motorcycle like it. People look at it at its face value and say, "Oh, it's only 50 horsepower or 60 horsepower," depending on what it is. They look at it at the face value, and they don't understand the potential that's there. You know what I mean? Dripping Glass. I like the 77 XL CR, but they go for a fortune now. The only thing I really liked about the Cafe Racer was that exhaust. I thought the exhaust was pretty bitchin'. But I don't know. There's something about the style on that bike just never clicked with me. World of Woodchip, I often wonder if an XR 750 kept under 7,200 RPM would live a long, healthy life. I'm sure they would. Cropper Cutlass power to weight ratio is everything. Yes. So one of the things about sports is they're considered heavy and slow, but you have to understand why they're heavy. And if you take the heavy, so to make the bike palatable to the average person, okay, they make everything is extra thick. Every bit of metal is extra thick. Everything is thicker and heavier than it has to be. So if you're not a performance enthusiast, you look at that as a bonus and you say, yes, it's big, everything heavy, strong, right? But they do that to make the bike more palatable to the average person who doesn't really care about performance. Now, when let's say a race frame, like an XR 750, a race frame, now instead of it being thick, mild steel, it's chromoly. You know what I mean? You're cutting all of the weight, and you're taking all of the, you know what I mean? You go from a 1-inch to a 7/8 handlebar, and you're optimizing the thing for weight savings. Okay, it becomes a completely different animal. You're a completely different animal. So, we're gonna have some fun with Sportsters. Daniel, you're on your way out. Good seeing you, brother, man. Dan, you got some fans on this channel. I hope everybody knows to go over and sub to his channel. Zero or one of you guys, if you put up a link to Dan Solis' channel. Let's see. There you go. So Zero just put up the link to Dan Solis' channel. World of Woodchip. An 83 and an XG 750, both with starter and charging system, weighing at 430 pounds of fuel in the tank. The XG is liquid cooled. Where do you get 430 pounds, bro? They're over. I can't give you an exact number, and it's going to change from model to model. But they're definitely over 430 pounds. Mopar Man, you want to know if I have an oil pan for a slant 6 out of a truck? I do not. Levi, thanks again, Tony. I always enjoy getting notification of one of your new vids. Your vids got me hooked at 20 years old, and I'm 28 years old now. Awesome, Levi. I'm glad you get something out of it. It's important to me to get the next generation to try to get you guys up to speed before all of us old timers finally kick the bucket. So yeah, it means a lot to me that you get something out of this stuff. World of Woodshop. My XL was 448. Was just enough to make it street legal. Well, that's the bike that I'm doing in here now. The 1200 is that. It's just enough stuff to make it. It'll be just enough stuff to make it street legal, and barely at that. But let me get the actual. Hang on, because now I'm curious. Sportster 883 weight. Is AI, okay? A Sportster 883 weighs around 545 pounds dry without fluids and 564 in running order. All right, so those weights are going to be for rubber mounts, which are 50 pounds heavier than solid mounts. So that would be 2004 and newer, right? So take 50 pounds off of that, and you're looking at approximately, again, it depends on the model, right? Because there's going to be variations in trim, okay? But so that would take 50 pounds off of that, put it right at about 510, 515 pounds for a basic 883. So yeah, if you stripped off anything extraneous, yeah, your weight is about right. Foxy Joe, I have a set of factory 440 manifolds for an e-body convertible. Are they worth keeping or scrap them? Well, if they came from a 70 or 71 e-body, the convertible doesn't make any difference. Those are going to be HP manifolds, and yes, actually, they're quite valuable. Oh God, I'm gonna say you could probably get between $400 and $500 for the set if they're clean, right? If they're not pitted or anything like that, there's no cracks, and they're date coded like that, because you somebody doing let's say a 446 pack car, looking for just pristine parts. Yeah, that pair of exhaust manifolds is probably worth about $500. Scoop says hummingbirds pee their body weight every day to stay light. A fact does nothing. A fact that does nothing to know. No, that is an interesting fact. I mean, yeah, a hummingbird, they're like very, very tiny. So the weight of what's in their bladder is going to make a difference. That's Marco Thozu. Just not giving you your full name, Marco. Thank you for the super chat. I want you to do another video on engine block seasoning just to hear you talk about it, because it's fascinating. Did I ever do it? I don't think I ever did a video on engine block seasoning per se. And it's not a practice that's really done anymore. Most professional engine builders, most high-end engine builders use premium blocks, okay, stuff that's already been stress relieved and whatnot. The process of seasoning engine blocks goes back to when race engine builders were using factory components, like assembly line components, and they would look for specifically. So if you were building a pro stock motor in 1872, okay, you would specifically go look for a block that came out of a taxi cab, or something like that had been through countless heating and cooling cycles. And that's because after the more heating and cooling cycles an engine block goes through, the more natural it becomes. It settles out. So they used to pile up blocks behind that, and that's something I remember, like from when I was a kid, like I was a teenager, and you go to a machine shop, and out back in the machine shop was always piles of engine blocks. and they would leave them out to bake in the sun and freeze in the winter, so that they would see it would help with the seasoning. They expand as far as they're going to go during the summer, and they contract as much as they're going to go in the winter. And so every time it goes through a heating and expansion, heating and cooling, expansion and contraction, it becomes more seasoned. And so now when you machine this thing, to be a race engine, it's going to maintain those dimensions. But that's not really a practice that's done anymore. That's from the past. Skinny Chicken, ever use non-ethanol fuel in your car? Is it worth the extra cost? Honestly, I have not found a difference. I've never gone scientific with it, to quantify, and I should, but I've never gone crazy to quantify the exact difference between ethanol and non-ethanol gas. But I can tell you, I have both here, and I've run my Jeeps and I've run my cars off of both ethanol and non-ethanol, and I cannot tell a difference. I can't tell a difference in mileage. I can't tell a difference in performance. And I'm talking about E10, right? So it probably is not worth the cost difference. Territory, can you season engines like cast iron lodge pans? Well, when you season a cooking pan, that's a different type of seasoning. You don't care if it expands and contracts. You just want the pores of the metal to absorb the fats of what you're cooking with, and that's how those get seasoned. But no, cars, engine block is a different. AutoS4, thank you for the super chat. I want you to do a video on your favorite barbecue seasoning just to hear you talk about it, because it's fascinating. I like dry rub, and I like the tomato based. I'm not crazy about the vinegar based barbecue sauce that's common to this area here. I don't know if I can do a whole video on it. I was saying I like to use non-ethanol in small engines as the last thing for storage before off-season. Yes. Yeah, I agree with that, Olive. Chief Jake 117. Hey, Tony, I have a question. I'm waiting for it, brother. Hit me with your question. Let's see. Okay. Would clogged brake hoses cause sinking brake pedal or just air in the system? Neither. Sinking brake pedal is a symptom of a bad master cylinder. It'll bypass. Air in the system will give you a spongy brake pedal, so you'll step on a brake. So okay, bad master cylinder, you step on a brake pedal, it feels good and firm, and then suddenly it just goes whoop, right off from under your foot. Bad master cylinder. Spongy or air in the system, you step on a brake, it's spongy, you pump it, it gets solid. Let go of it, hit it again, and it's spongy again. That's air in the system. Clogged brake hose, what it does is it allows the fluid to be pushed into the wheel cylinder. So you've got the pressure from your foot on the brake pedal and the leverage involved in all of that, pushing fluid from the master cylinder through the lines to wherever it's going, wheel cylinder or the caliper. Okay, that's a lot of pressure. But now it has to be returned when you take your foot off the brake. So the spring on a wheel cylinder or the springs on a drum brake car don't have enough, and there is no return spring on a caliper. So in either situation, the fluid will get pushed into the wheel cylinder or the caliper, but there won't be enough pressure to push the fluid back, and that's what you'll get with a clogged brake hose. And it'll drag the brakes on that wheel. Did I answer that question for you? I don't know if. Yeah, I think I answered it. Okay. Chief Jake, I just replaced the fuel pump in my 84 C4 Vet. It has a carb swap, and I've never dealt with carb. What should I watch out for to have no mess ups? Oh, dude, I do not know. What should you watch for? You just changed the fuel pump. Was it running with a carburetor before, and you had a bad pump and you just put another pump in it, or are you making the conversion right now from fuel injection to carburetor? Because it's two completely different. Right? No. What? All right, Chief Jake. Be more elaborate than just no, because I have freaking ADD. Okay, you have to spell things out for me. Had a carb at purchase. Did it run originally with that carburetor? Okay. Did the chat freeze? I think the chat froze. Okay. Yeah, you were told it ran on carb cleaner. All right. Yeah, I'm not concerned with it if the carburetor runs the engine. That's not a concern at all. The question is, when they made the conversion, what components? So are you using a mechanical fuel pump on the engine, or are you using an electric fuel pump? Because if you use an electric fuel pump, like that came in the car, it's going to have way too much pressure for the carburetor. So, like, what specifically, what pump did you put in there? And I'll wait for your answer. Okay, Kay is saying I can put the engine off and it's solid, but the moment I turn the engine on, it sinks and can't pump it. That's because you've got power brakes, and without the power assist, it's going to be tight. As soon as you start it, it's going to get loose. Chief Jake, it's original, it's replacement original. Then you're going to have to rethink what you're doing there, because that's going to be that pump is ballpark. Ballpark is going to be about 45, 50 psi, and your carburetor is only going to take a maximum of about 7 psi. So yeah, Chief Jake has a lot of pressure, and that's what I was worried about. Yes, it's not going to work. Okay, it's not going to work. Now, this is far too detailed for me to get into with a live chat here, so I'm going to recommend that you just start searching YouTube videos on that specific conversion, and you're going to find all the information you need. I can guarantee it, because it's a popular conversion, especially with those crossfire things. So your 84 would have been a crossfire. People hated those. I've been swapping them the carburetor since the beginning of time. But I cannot give you the specifics on that particular thing, on your particular issue, on what to use. So you're gonna have to search. I wish I could do better for you, but I only have so much. Mexican Spec, can you put a mechanical pump on that Corvette engine? The Boss is 84. The Boss is there. It has a block off plate. No, there's no eccentric on the cam for it. There's no eccentric on the cam to operate the push rod for the fuel pump. Joe Case, Crossfire is only 84. Yes, he says it's an 84 Vet. Dean Stevens is saying you should watch for carbs. All carbs are great carbs. I agree. Love carburetors. David Forrester, I have a really dumb question. I have looked for days and only get opposing opinions. Should I use a thread sealer on a 318 block when putting heads on? If so, which holes? I never have. It's never even occurred to me to use thread sealer on 318 head bolts, small block Mopar head bolts. It will not leak. Mike Brunello, why did you abandon carb swapping that XJ? We abandoned a lot of things this year. And that's because, and we've talked about this before, Kathy Bananas, Uncle Kathy, who runs this channel, she's the lifeblood of this channel. She has MS. And this year, she was down. I mean, she had a really bad 4 month or just about 4 months through the spring and into the summer where she could not walk. So I came here and I shot videos, but that was the only time I left the house. I would run up here, shoot a video real quick, and then run it back and edit it and all that. But I didn't work on anything. I couldn't work on anything. I had to stay, at the house. I had 5 dogs, and a really rough situation. So it's not that we abandoned anything really, but stuff that we wanted to get done this year did not get done, and it'll get done. Whatever it is, we'll eventually get to it. That Jeep is still sitting on the side over here. Mission Improbable is sitting in front of it. The Bottle Rocket and Slaghammer are both sitting here, both ready to run. But we just have not been able to get out and do things this year. It was really rough, and now we've lost our dog sitter on top of that. Doris, our trusted dog sitter. I love Doris. She's fantastic, but she moved. So now I've got to cultivate another dog sitter on top of all of this. So, there are certain things that are just more important than getting to the track, and it is what it is. Joe K, can you procure another dog sitter if you jump for joy? Yeah, Elizabeth, come watch my pups. You can train them while you're at it. No, Jump for Joy it's a one-person operation, and she's got her hands full. She's got her own dogs and everything else. But I really do need to source another dog sitter, and that's easier said than done. Thunderstruck 666, will we see Mission Improbable this year? Probably. So my situation now, okay, is that we've got the dragster. So that will be at the shop within the next 2 weeks or so. And to go through everything that needs to be done on that car and to make it function, I don't know how much time. That's going to be my priority. Getting that car at least running and on the ground before the end of this year. So I would like to get Mission Improbable to the track. I'd like to get something to the track. Anything. I'd like to get anything to the track this year, if it's possible. Territory, Tony, did I miss the conspiracy theories of the week segment of this stream? No, other than it's all coming together. It's all happening, right? Yeah, okay. No theory. It's happening. Chevy Hemi. He's talking to David Forrester. No thread sealer. The threads of head bolts compress with the spec torque specified, thus locking them in. Hope that helps. Well, that's a more detailed answer than I gave for sure. There's a spec saying, hey, Kathy isn't here to stop and bring on the conspiracies. That is Elizabeth. I can give you some ideas for dog sitters. I'm really picky. See, Doris, I trusted Doris. Um, I have to meet, you know, uh, World of Wood Chip. I would love to dog sit, but I'm much more than 30 miles from Murfreesboro. Doris was awesome. Doris would do the dishes. Like, when you come home, you leave her with the dogs, right? When you come home, the dogs are all just happy, like happier than they normally are, okay? And then she would do the dishes and clean up like you like dust, right? Doris was just absolutely awesome. You don't replace that very easily. And then on top of that, when I would go to pay her, right, I'd give her money and she'd be like, "Oh no, that's too much." Like, are you out of your mind? So no, she's great. Oh God, Doris was one in a million. Um, let's see. Skinny Chicken. Have any experience with Mopar lean burn systems, especially the distributor, two magnetic pickups, and no vacuum advance? The vacuum advance is built into the computer. The whole point of that computer system there is the vacuum advance. By using that, along with RPM sensors and everything else, it bounces between those two pickups and determines what the timing is supposed to be. The vacuum advance canister is actually built into the computer that's on the air cleaner. But let me say this, okay? They did not function well when they were new, right? And they certainly do not function 40 years later. Do yourself a favor, okay? Not joking about this, okay? Do yourself a favor. Rip that system out of there, get a conventional distributor with a vacuum advance, drop it in, and pretend you never saw the lean burn system, right? If it's a car you're trying to restore, you're trying to make it look right under the hood, leave all that stuff in place, but replace the distributor with one that has a conventional mechanical and vacuum advance. Um, let's see. Jeff is trying to revive a 1951 Ford F8 337. The motor is stuck and has ATF acetone in the cylinders and intake. I've seen your stuck engine videos, but do you have any tips for a flat head or stuck valves? Flat, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're going to end up with the same issues. Okay, when you do free that engine up, and you'll free it up, okay, you're going to have two problems that you're not going to be able to overcome. Okay, then the first problem is wherever those pistons were rusted to the cylinder wall is going to have deep, heavy pitting. Okay, this 383 that we're doing right now is exactly that. It'll be an example of what you come across. All right. So you're going to have deep, heavy pitting in the cylinder walls wherever those pistons were stuck. But that's not really a problem. Deep pitting in the cylinder wall is actually not that big of a deal. The problem you're going to have is the rings are going to be corroded in place in the piston. So you'll get that engine free and you'll get it to start and run. Okay. But when everything expands, like when the cylinder starts to expand, okay, where the ring is supposed to follow and help seal, the ring is not going to be able to expand. It's going to be locked into the grooves of the piston. Okay, so and I'm going to say it's 1 in 20 stuck engines that you free up and they'll function correctly, right? If even 1 in 20, it's probably less than that. So yes, I would pull it apart. I would pull it apart. And Elizabeth is on her way out. And Elizabeth, so she's got a channel, Jump for Joy Agility. I don't know if she's posted anything on it recently, but guys, go over there and show Elizabeth some love. And She's a dog whisperer. I mean, this girl's just absolutely amazing. Okay, do you still have to bench bleed a new master cylinder if you vacuum out the fluid air at each wheel anyway? Some brake systems will trap air in the master. There'll be little air pockets. Now, I never actually bench bleed. I have my way of doing it in the car. It requires a second person. Try gravity bleeding it before you do anything else. Try gravity bleeding it, and chances are it'll work. Okay, it'll eradicate whatever air is in the system. But if after you've gravity bled, you still find that the master is a little soft and you pump it a couple times and it comes up firm, well, you still got air stuck in that chamber. I did a video on, no, you know what? I'm going to do that video. I know that's a video I've never done. Okay. How to bleed the master in the car. But try gravity bleeding it first. It may work for you. PG-13, The Bill Hound Show. There's free dog training on YouTube called Beckman's Dog Training. It's really good. I've never heard of them. But Joe K, ever dealt with Butler Pontiac? They're in Tennessee, south of Nashville. They are, so the track we usually go to is in Etheridge. And Butler is like maybe like 10 miles from the track, 5 miles from the track. I've passed them many times, but I've never stopped in there. And I would like to. I'd like to meet those guys. I know they do a lot of really amazing stuff. But just every time I've been in that neck of the woods, I've just been too occupied. But yes, Butler is right there. I've passed him a bunch of times. Shannon has a question. Shoot, Shannon, let's hear it. What you got? Dunbar got most of your parts from Butler. Yeah, Big Chief uses Butler. Yeah, no, they're very well established Pontiac people. But like I said, anytime I'm out there, it's hit and run. It's like, get to the track, get home, right? So, but I will eventually make it a point to get by there. Tony, here's a question. PG-13 and Bill Hound Show also has a question. Well, I'm waiting for Shannon to pop back in here, but I'm scrolling back looking for a question. No, I only see what he's talking about with the. Oh, ask it again. Ask it again. Let's see. Who can hate a Pinto engine? Certainly not me. I think they're great. Firefly is stuck listening to wife complain about teaching unruly 8th graders. Winston White, pretend you're invisible. Pretend? Shannon recently crossed up a 5.7 Chevy Vortec engine, stays running after shut off, and sometimes runs backwards. What should I look at first? That's okay. Recently saw 5.7 Vortec 2 carb. and engine stays running after shut off and sometimes runs backwards. What should I look at first? High idle speed. You've got the idle speed for whatever reason. You've got the idle speed set too high, right? So all right. Okay, Shannon. Here's what you do. Now, there are lots of carb videos I've done on this channel that cover all of this. So, like in more detail that I'm going to give you now. All right. Here's what you need to do. I don't know what carb you put on there, but it doesn't make any difference. Edelbrock, Holly, it doesn't make any difference. Here's what you do. Close the throttle, the throttle stop screw, right? Loosen the screw until the throttle is completely closed, okay? Then open it one turn, okay? Just one revolution, that's it, okay? Now go to start the car. It'll start. If it won't idle with the idle stop screw, one full turn, 1.5 turns max, then you've got a problem in the idle circuit. All right. So you're not getting, let me explain to you. What that's saying is that in order for the engine to run, the throttle has to be open enough to pull fuel through the booster, through the primary circuit. So when that happens, when you shut the car off, it's still going to be pulling fuel. The cylinders are hot, the valves are hot, it's making vapor, there's compression, right? Compression creates heat. So that combination will cause the engine to run on, all right? So what that's saying is that you've got too much throttle opening. So do what I'm telling you to do. Close the throttle all the way. Open it one turn, 1.5 turns, right? And then try to start it. If it will have a problem in the idle circuit of the carburetor. So, and like I said, you could just search carburetor videos. We've had, God, how many videos I've done on this? It's all there. Riff Bacchus. I just bought a 65 Corvette 327 4-speed. Very nice. Very nice car. Been sitting for 50 years. How to free the engine. Whew. I've done some many videos, including very recently this 383 Mopar, on how to free a stuck engine. So rather than take up time here on the live, I'm telling you, just Google or search my channel for videos on stuck engine, and you'll have all the information you need. We've done a few of them at least. Zero is saying, boss, just a time reminder, no worries. Wow. Oh my God. Thank you, Zero. I didn't realize it was 2 hours already. Let's see. Shannon is saying, thanks, Tony. I hope there's no problem with the carb. It's a brand new Summit 650. I'll give it a try. Okay. If it's a new carburetor, you probably don't have a problem in the carburetor itself. You're going to have a vacuum leak someplace. More than likely, that's what you got going on. Now, also, somebody asked about the ignition. Farmer Cars is saying, Shannon, what ignition are you using? If you've got the timing extremely retarded, you'll end up in a situation like that too. Retarded timing, it increases okay. So if you got very important now, okay? If the timing is too far retarded, you've got to use a lot of throttle opening to keep the engine idling, keep the engine running. And at the same time, the retarded timing increases the temperature of the combustion chamber, which would lead to it wanting to run on. So that's another very distinct possibility. Okay, Sean's saying, okay, it's a new HDI distributor. Check the timing. Or better than that, advance the timing. You advance it 5 degrees, right? To really see a difference. 5 to 10 degrees, advance it, okay? And just see if that clears it up. And then, okay, but yes. Let's see. Mark Osborne saying GM often installed the step-up solenoid that set the base idle, yet would allow the throttle to close completely when you kill the ignition. Yeah, that was actually all the manufacturers used that in let's say the middle to early 70s. Shannon, I did have trouble timing the engine because the Vortec engine doesn't have a clear timing tab. That's probably it. That's probably it, Shannon. Okay, so it's been 2 hours and I'm done. Our fantastic mods, Zero, Fubar, Mexican Spec. Thank you guys as always. Everybody contributed with Super Chat. Thank you. Never expected, but always appreciated. And everybody who contributed with your presence and your conversation, thank you equally. We had a bunch of friends pop in here tonight. Jamie from Dead Dodge Garage. If you're not familiar with him, go check him out. He usually does a live that overlaps hours. So if you still want to hang out, go over to Jamie's channel, Dead Dodge Garage. Definitely go sub to him. Daniel Solis was in here for a while. Make sure you go sub to his channel. Great, especially if you're like a smoky unit guy. This guy's like, he's smoky. He's like, he's into this stuff, right? But yeah, we had a great Zero. We did have a great crowd here tonight. So yes, I'm running out of steam, and I am going to pull the plug right now. And tomorrow I'm going to do a video on bench testing and ignition system. So why don't I even say that? Does it matter? It doesn't matter. That's it, guys. I'm going to hit the out button and go home to my barking dogs. Good night, all.